Hello everyone, and welcome to my another episode of Model Train Reviews. And this time we're going to review da, 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 da. Oops, sorry. Let's just try again. Da, 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 da. You can see it's an A4 Pacific. You can guess by here. This one is called. This one is number 60027 Merlin. Now, I was going to start with a brief history on the A4s. Now you can see the A4s were basically pardon me. Now, obviously, a brief history. Obviously, the A4s were designed in 1935 by Sir Nigel Gresley. The guy who designed Flying Scotsman and Green Arrow. Now let's try again. Now, obviously, the A4s were designed for high-speed railway services, to run services between London and Edinburgh. Now, they were very successful on these services, and until the 1960s, when they were replaced by diesel locomotives. And 35 of them were built, but today there are 6 of them left, 4 of which are in Britain, and 2 of which are in North America. Now, the famous one, called Mallard, set a world record of 126 miles per hour and can currently be seen at the National Railway Museum in York. And so, today I'm going to start off with like a British Railway 60163 style review. Now, to start off with the details, start off with the front. Just look at the VAT. She is gorgeous, the front of Merlin. You can see here, you can see the number here, 60027. You might notice the double chimney, which they were modified with them in the late 50s. I might notice here the plaques, which I've added on myself with white tack. I think the plaques were fitted on the cab, I think. You can see on the plate 60027. If I could just try and zoom in on the workers bit plate here. I'm not sure how you can read it, although it says 1937. I think it was built in Doncaster in 1937. And one thing I forgot to mention is there are sprung buffers. You might notice this is a 462 Pacific. 4 wheels in the front, which help to support the engine and to guide her around corners. And 6 wheels in the middle, which are the driving wheels. These are 2 wheels at the back. One thing you might notice is the roof vents on here open. Of course, this is a premium version, not the railroad model. And I notice the detail on the coupling and connecting rods, which are very handsome. One thing I forgot to mention is, you can see here that's the chime whistle, which you might see on every A4. I might tell you about the chime whistles as well. The chime whistles here were introduced on another locomotive that Gresley designed, the P2 Mercados, but they were later fitted on these engines, the A4s. One thing you might notice here is Merlin here doesn't have the side balances, which cover the part of the wheels. You can see because during the war they took off the side balances, which were never reinstated in service. We see because before the war they had those balance. They had covered a quarter of the wheels, covered the top of the wheels. Well, today you can see them on Mallard, and I think you can also see them on Bittern, which is like certified for running on the main line. And I notice here this is British Railways Brunswick green livery, as they were in the late 50s and 60s. And we have a look on here. On the front of it, its shed code is 64B, which is like Edinburgh Haymarket, as it was known. You can see that on one of them, Union of South Africa. Now, don't you just love the livery? It is very gorgeous. But I do prefer the LNER Garter Blue livery. But before we move on, let's have a look at the cab. I believe you've already seen on my reviews when I done reviews of Flying Scotsman and Brown Jack. I'm not sure how you can see it there. You can see the reverser there, and the regulators, and the firebox, and some bucket seats for the driver and fireman. I believe I've already mentioned the firebox. You can see there's the brakes, there's the injectors and the boiler gauges. Again, there's a wire. I'm not going to do it because I haven't got time. But you might, if you want to see the real ones running, you might do it on any other day. Let's just take a look at the other side. But before we do that, let's have a look. These are the safety valves, which you might see on every locomotive. There's a washout plug for the boiler. And you might notice here on the other side here, there's this linkage right here. Right. Oh yeah, you might remember. Right. There's some problems with these. Oh yeah, we might remember seeing Intercity 82's video about one of his A4 models called Falcon, which basically comes out of the Heart of Midlothian set that Hornby did a few years back. And this is the same as this, but the other one's called Falcon, but it's in the same colour. Now, it really had a problem with this lubrication linkage right here where my finger's pointing. You see, well, the problem it had, well, this part was like probably moving up and down, I think, instead of sideways. But I believe he solved the problem. And you may remember on Streamlined Trains' videos when he did a review of his other A4s called Sparrowhawk. Okay. And when he also got the 70th anniversary model of Mallard, I believe he's got Kingfisher, which comes from a Flying Scotsman train pack from years back that Hornby did. Now I might notice that his front tyres are a bit loose. I believe I got right. As far as you know, I think I've got this one for my 20th birthday in 2012. I'll just put loco. I believe that's enough of the loco. Now let's have a look at the tender. And I notice here the tender has the light crest on there, which you can see on Union of South Africa. There's some waters. I'm not sure what they are, but you might notice there's a door that leads to a corridor right there. There's a coal right here. Oh yeah, one of these panels is loose. Let's not bother with them right now. You might notice here there's a corridor tender on the back. There's a corridor on the back of the tender, which you may have already seen in my Flying Scotsman reviews. I see the corridor tenders here were designed to swap crews during a non-stop move between London and Edinburgh. And here there's some sprung buffers here as well. You might notice here the tender here has the radius back, unlike what you saw in Flying Scotsman, where its tender has a flat end. I'm not sure you can see on here, the top of the NEM coupling. It's like a dummy Buckeye coupling, which you might see on other A4s like Gresley. And I believe this is where the wire goes. You might be wondering, why am I doing this in the night instead of in the day? I thought I might fancy a change. I'm not quite good at holding the locomotives when filming, because I might need to be very careful with these. Let me just put it the one side down there. Just get that from the tripod. Now, doesn't she look attractive as Merlin? I mean, you can tell why the A4s are so attractive because of streamlined casings here, which are I forgot to mention, was inspired by Bugatti. Well, Grizzly was good friends with Bugatti. And also the front here is inspired by those Bugatti racing cars. Now that's the reason why these trains started out aerodynamically. It's because they were designed for high-speed services. You may remember the high-speed train. You may have seen the high-speed trains today, like the HSTs and the Class 91s and the Eurostars. Well, they do high-speed services. I think the Pendolino does on the west coast. Every time I see the front end of the A4s, it basically reminds me of the Eurostars, which runs from London to Paris or Brussels. I can't imagine the A4s running. I think the A4s were never intended to work like international regions between London and Paris. I'll just finish off here by you admiring this model in all of her glory. Wish you could have seen it today if it was preserved. Even though it was withdrawn in 1965, and the following year it was scrapped. I believe that's a wrap for now. And I'll see you next time.